Good morning, people. What's going on? I just want to give a quick thanks to everybody who bought stuff in the merch store. I think we're up to like 13 sales right now, which is pretty cool. Pretty awesome. Well, that's as of right now, so it might get more today. First thing I'm going to do today is I'm going to take this stand, and I think it's wide enough that I can fit my welder here and my water cooler right here. So we're going to try and put these two side by side. It'll look a lot better, and we'll use that as our welding supply holder thingamajigger. And then we've got our mid plates here, and our motor plates are right there. And we're gonna mock those up on our engine and see kind of what the distance is on the engine and see if it'll fit in this bay right now. Because we do gotta get started on this. And it'd be nice to see where it sits and if we need to like weld some new plates to the side. I also found out that we can run our Brian Tooley intake manifold backwards, which is gonna be huge because the air to water comes through the firewall backwards, and we might have to do like a little oh my god, the car moved. And we might have to do some sort of little like S bend coming down. So a little like hook bird to the left there. Well, that looks like a much better setup. Everything's just kind of like organized there. I can put some of my fab materials on the bottom or in the middle there. And yeah, so that's how we're gonna do this for now anyways. The only reason it's here and probably not over there on that wall is the 220 plug is here. I don't want to get an extension cord. Lame excuse. I guess I could take the extension cord, go up, and then across, and then down. Or I could just leave it here. The only thing is if we want to ever put two cars in here, this has got to move, this fridge has got to move, and that's got to move, and then both cars have to be on dollies so we can push them to either side if we're doing two projects at once. This garage is a little bit smaller than my last one. But that's okay, we'll make it work. Why aren't you subscribed right now? Huh? Why? Bye. The only good, real reason to have a freezer in the garage, that's always full of ice cream, so like, take a quick ice cream break, jam that in your cocksucker. Alright, time to get this engine in the air and see motor plate thingies. And then maybe possibly weld the crack in the block so that we can permanently mount it in there. We don't have a trans right now though, so issues. My BTR intake is so dang sexy. Look at that mouth, big enough for a horse. I can't recall if I drained the oil out of this, so I probably should do that. If you don't remember the size, it's always an any size hammer. Oh, this is loose, I must have drained it already. Maybe. Oh, maybe I didn't. That could have been bad. It smells like race gas though. I can't tell if that's a good or a bad thing. It's probably bad. Well, that's draining out there. I'm just gonna grab the mid plate and I'm just gonna show you where it fits. This is our big ass mid plate. Starters on that side, so it would go this way. Like that. That's gonna bolt to, like we have to fab it up, so we'll drill holes in each side of this, and then plates get welded to the frame rails, so the engine, the back side of it, gets bolted to the frame rail. Now I'm hoping that this helps with our weld strength because our weld is actually below this dowel pin, and I'm hoping that the mid plate actually takes some of the force on that dowel pin here instead of the motor, because it's going to be weaker where I'm going to weld it there. And then on top of the mid plate, that's where our bell housing is going to bolt. So that's going to bolt on there. And because this is a small block Chevy, not an LS one, obviously you don't use like these two ones, but you just use, I believe there's 5. 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4, 5. So you don't use a couple of the ones that are in here. Let's get a 10. I believe it's a 10. Actually, this side's 13. I got two different size studs for the manifolds, but we'll just blast off our turbo headers here because we won't be reusing these ones. Surprisingly, these gaskets didn't leak. They're known to leak. They were just like these paper gaskets here with a bit of metal in them. It didn't leak. I have a set of multi-layer steel ones to go on in exchange for these though.
But like...
What is going on here?
I came to tell you that I made some lunch. I should probably make sure that my thing doesn't open.
I'm coming in! this is essentially what our setup's gonna look like. We have to cut out holes in the motor plate depending on where we want to put our headers through, but this is just like a blank plate that they give you to cut out. This one's been cut at the top. This thing really isn't gonna do much anyways because all the bolts that are in it. But first thing I noticed is that there's a huge level change here from this plate to this plate. In no point are they like level at all. And then the first thing I noticed on the car is that this one and this one are essentially the same height on the frame rail. So actually this one looks lower on the backside over here. So we might end up having to start from scratch with our motor plate mounts. I thought I might have been able to just use the back ones, cut the front ones out, and fab those ones up because it'd be way easier to do that way. But it doesn't look like that. So I think the first thing we gotta do is, these tins are just riveted in. We probably pull these tins off. It'll give us a lot clearer view what's going on this frame rail here. And then probably start from there. Actually, I should get a measurement to see kind of what the distance is. So the distance between these two, no real good way to do this. Roughly 25/8. Really weird that I'm using a standard measurement on when I live in a metric world. It was 20 and 5/8 on that side, and these ones are 21. So the forward motor is just a little bit bigger. It was bigger in displacement, so the bore sizing was probably a bit bigger, and then the bore spacing a little bit bigger, which makes the engine a little bit longer. So yeah, we definitely got to cut these front mounts off. Probably cut the rear ones off too and just start fresh. I also got this nice water pump from Charlie, and the billet adapters wherever I put them, down there, and a set of coil packs. But this big water pump's gonna fit on the front here somewhere. And then I have an ATI balancer for there, and then we're just gonna run an alternator over here. Because they had this, so you can remove the top piece here and the whole clip, I remove the front bumper, I remove these little shields here. You can see it's a little rough around the edges without the plates on it, but we gotta get rid of, I think this was some sort of bracket that they use for a water pump. We gotta get rid of these. This is a turbo mount bracket. I'm probably gonna get rid of that one and build a better one. And then the back ones as well. It is hot out today too, and I'm wearing jeans because I don't want to get nicks and scratches on my perfect little legs over here. So we kind of just mocked this in place here. I don't think we're gonna be able to use our intake manifold. From the top of the valley here to the bottom of this pipe is 6 inches. From here on the valley to the top of this intake manifold is like 7.5. So I was thinking maybe if we haggered it together, we might be able to put our, like, we can't turn the intake around because it'd be way too close. But we might be able to put it forward facing. And this used to be the inlet. This was the outlet into the intake manifold. We might be able to go off the turbo in the front, up through this side maybe, and then out this side, around, and then like 180 into the throttle body. All right, so we have a mock-up Turbo 400 here we can use to get the trans tunnel clearance, because it's got to clear the trans tunnel back there. So we'll try this again, put it in. This motor plate actually sits really low, so it might have to be like cut up this way somewhat. And then, so we'll just give it a shot anyways, see what happens here. So I'm trying to get it in now, but the mid plate is pretty much sitting on the K-member right now, and it's stuck between the frame rails. And I'm pretty sure the LS sits more to one side in the Mustang chassis than normal, so I might pull the mid plate off, just throw the trans on, and work on getting the motor plate in the front. I kind of like it at this distance right here, so I might reuse these brackets because I want to be able to get at the trans bolts in the back here. So I want a good like 2 inches in the back to get at the trans bolts. So it's the next day. A couple things to note. We launched a merch store last night, and we've been using Shopify and Printify, and they're like the same company, and they're joined together, but they're kind of stupid. So we had the currency set up as Canadian for purchasing. So it's a weird thing, like you pay for the merch, it comes to me, then I have to pay the product. It doesn't come from the same little thing, like it doesn't just go into an account and then comes out of that account. It kind of goes through my bank account and then out of my bank account. So anyways, the sales were in Canadian. The processing was in US. And the shipping was in US. So I ended up losing money on the first 17 orders. And there was only 17 orders. Get merch, they say. It'll help the channel, they say. Wrong. It didn't. Anyways, it's all fixed now. It just costs a little tiny bit more. Then the second thing is that if you look up Boostedlifestyle in Google, all the recommended things are like Virginia, Kyle's girlfriend. So, watch this. And you can do it on your phone too, actually. Search. Okay, Google. It's real, it's not fake. Try it yourself, I dare you. What it should really say, and what you guys are always looking for, is Boostedlifestyle, Virginia, OnlyFans, Alien Trash Kitty. Because that's what everyone usually tries to find. So I've been thinking about how I'm going to do this because the engine has to be lined up with the diff. That's the biggest thing with mounting this motor plate, is that it's got to be lined up with the diff with no like stupid angle on it. So I'm not a radial connoisseur, so to say, so I'm not all good with pinion angles and trans angles and all that good stuff. So I'm just going to try my best at it, I guess. And then if it doesn't work, then we just got to do it better again next time, basically. And then if it really doesn't work, you just get a bigger hammer, obviously. I'm from Canadian land, that's just how it works. Sorry. So I think my plan here is just to use some of this like bondage rope and just put it one jack stand here and run the string all the way along the back to the back of the car. We'll line this up with the pinion, and then we can see if the trans is on top of the string straight, and then the crank center line is on top of the string as well there. So I've been hemming and hawing kind of over this, trying to get it down the center line of the car. I obviously need to cut this plate a little bit. I would just cut this one a little tiny bit and then cut this one a bit to just kind of get it in place. I'm kind of relying on that they had their motor mounts, motor plates set up straight from when we got the car. So I'm going to use their mounts in the motor plates. Then I'll make new mid-plate ones because I kind of like how far this engine is right there. Like I still have access to get to the trans bolts. So it definitely has to be moved over a little bit. I've been trying my best to get the center line of the crank with the center line of the pinion in the back. It's definitely a little tricky, but we're going to take a break here because I got a package that came in. It's mail time. ARP flywheel bolts. We bought an ATI super damper. These are our alternator brackets for the truck accessories. Did I do what I think I did? Did I buy one header thinking there were two? I might have. Well, that sucks. That was kind of silly of me, actually. Oh, wait a minute. There's another one underneath. I didn't realize it was like a false bottom down here. Nothing says race car more than when my fuel pump's louder than your engine. It's got like a big starter size motor on like a little mechanical style pump inside of it. So Magna Fuel 750 should be super loud. I think it's like 8 in, 8 out, but I might bottle it up to 12 in, 8 out. This is the motor plate kit that I had to replace for Charlie. This is the one I just bolted on my car. It helps support the motor mount. Die. Probably not good for my teeth. I laid a pair of scissors on the floor right there too. Plastic in my mouth. So, this just goes around the bottom of the engine, and if it explodes, then it all goes in this thing, and you don't get the track all oiled down. Make sure you got one. So that's kind of what it's going to be like right there. I got it level, I've got it square on those mounts. I got it right in the center where I think it should be. Worst case, it doesn't work. And we just have to do it again. That's the best that I can get it with my skill set and my knowledge and what I think it should be. So that's probably what we're gonna go with. And if we fail, we fail, boys. It's not gonna be the first time that we failed like this. So like, we're probably gonna fail actually. It's probably just not gonna work. But whatever, who cares? We're gonna have fun. So I bought like this cool little laser level thingy majiggy. Like, when I turn it on, you can see it makes a laser line there. And I used it under the car, like from the front here all the way to the back, and then I use it from the drive shaft, like the output shaft to the back, and to my untrained eyes, it looks pretty damn straight. So I think that's what we're gonna go with. I did buy a hole saw and a drill bit. One thing that kind of pissed me off though was that the 3/8 drill bit, because it's in such high demand, supply and command, it was actually more expensive than the drill bit size that was higher than it. So the drill bit before 3/8 was $20, this one was $27, and then the one after it was $20 again. So they were like, okay, the popular drill bit size, we're gonna charge you more for it. Assholes if you ask me, but it is what it is. And then I bought a 4.5 inch hole saw. That way we can hole saw it where our headers go. Put a nice hole saw hole in it, and then just cut into it to cut that little chunk out as well. So we'll drill the holes in the back side of the plates and then bolt it in, and then that's where that's gonna go. I kind of need the transmission to build a transmission cross member because I don't have a tail shaft on this one. So I can't really mount the rear, but I can get the front mounted in, and then I'm gonna mount the transmission in, then I'll mount the mid plate in and just kind of like have it a floater and then bolt it, like weld rails. You know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna weld some plates on the side of the thing and then bolt the mid plate in. That's what I'm gonna do. Oh yeah, I forgot. The plan of attack here was to mount the engine as low as I could. So it's literally like, I don't know, a 1/4 inch off that steering rack. So it's as low as I could mount it. And then I wanted to mount it where these plates were so I had enough room to get behind the trans. A lot of guys would move this as far forward as they could. I'm not too worried about keeping weight over the nose, even though I should be. Speaking of which, I actually broke that piece off the block, so I'm gonna have to clean this out nice, use my JW bell to line this up perfectly, and then attempt to weld it. The biggest thing is it holds this dowel in. The only thing that might save me is the mid plate also holds the dowel, so the mid plate might assist with strengthening this part of the block. Drill our hole from the backside. I like drilling it from the backside sometimes. So I gotta go up to be level again. Somewhere there. That's assuming that the garage is level and the car is level. It's probably not. It's probably not gonna work, Kyle, but whatever. You tried. You attempted. You suck, but you tried. So it's okay. It's all about trying. Now, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take this plate off because this side's closer to the side there. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take this side off because it's closer to the strut tower. I'm gonna try and mount our manifold on that side and see kind of what happens. If it's close enough to go down and under, or if I have to go up and down. That made sense in my head. I don't know if it made sense in your head. I do that a lot where I just assume that you guys know what I'm talking about, and usually I'm wrong. Now, one thing I didn't take into account is that this bolt is actually utilized by our alternator kit as well, I believe. I might have to grind our spacer down a little bit, reuse that bolt with a really long bolt here. Yeah, so I gotta figure it out. I'm gonna have to grind down this spacer right here, the thickness of this plate, which is 1/4 inch. So 1/4 inch off that, it's going to go in between that, and the alternator is going to sit here, and then the adjustment comes from this movable bracket on the bottom. So we might not be able to come down and forward with our headers because the alternator is going to be right here, so we'll have to come up and forward, cut our holes through the top here, and then build it into the turbo wherever it's going to be. Since the alternator is pretty big there, basically whatever the inside radius of this plate is right here, that's gonna be what we have to cut out of the bottom portion of this plate to make this piece work. But it's gonna fit like that. It's gonna be one belt that goes from here to there, And then that's all I'm running for accessories this time. I can't tell if this is gonna fit or not. I don't think it's gonna fit actually. We might have to fab up one of these runners. Or just dent the runner in a little tiny bit. Oh, there's a tiny air gap right here right now. It's the tiniest of air gaps. Is get our mock-up motor plate out of cardboard, put that on here, figure out what needs to be cut in order for this to fit, cut it out, and then we can mount up our motor plate and see actually where this fits, I guess. What I did was I just cut the corner out of it because that's where the header passes. Then I put it back up, and it looks like if I drill that hole right where I have it marked out there, that'll be fine, and then I'll just extend that line all the way straight up. So I'll just cut it out and show you what I mean. So what I mean by this line straight up is I'm just gonna cut out this hole, and then I'm gonna go to the bandsaw and I'm gonna cut from here down into the hole so we have a nice little radius piece. And I'm not a professional by any means, and things being aesthetically pleasing aren't my forte. I'm glad you guys can't smell me right now either because this stank. But that's my little template thing. If I put it on here, kind of looks like yay, which is not too bad at all. Even get away with like cutting more out of this top side after too, to make it look not so janky. That worked. Oh, I tore my shirt a little bit. Sad. I guess I got a little horny there. Ooh, I even cut my pants a little bit. Good thing I didn't get my phone. There we go. I'm gonna trim out the bottom of this plate a little bit here too, just so it doesn't look so dumb afterwards. But we did clear the header real good here. I might even trim the top a little bit more here too, just to give me access to these cylinder head bolts, which allows me to bolt some stuff there as well. But we're up to like a 1/4 inch clearance on the strut tower here, so I'm not sure how I feel about that, but we'll address that if it becomes an issue. Maybe get the header ceramic coated or something just to keep the heat away from the strut tower. Well, I definitely didn't have to go down so much on this side. I kind of regret going down so far now that I've cut the alternator one out because we only have this much meat holding it on, which is still plenty, I guess, but I mean, I still kind of regret doing it now. This side's got lots of meat. It'll be fine. I actually have to cut out a little bit more for the alternator here because it fits in there, but now we have no adjustment up. It won't go up any further. There, it's sitting on its own. Like I said, I'm a little bit sad that I cut a little bit too much out of this side, but what can you do? It's still a lot. It's still, I don't know, 9 inches right there, 9 inches. I want to test my intake manifold. I have a feeling my Brian Tooley intake isn't going to fit on here because this is the outlet to the air to water. And my intake, if I turn it around, I'll be hitting those plugs right there. So I'm just going to put it on here so if I can go forward and above it, I'm just going to throw it on here. If my maths are correct, it's not going to work. The only thing that I can come up with a kind of a solution is if it comes off the turbo, wherever we put it, comes up into this one, and then out this one, and then like 90 into the intake here. The other option is I get another intake manifold, like a carb style intake manifold that has like the square ports here. Then you put the 90 elbow on it, and then the throttle body, and then it comes out here into the throttle body, or into the intake. Kind of sad because I would love to use this one, but because the air to water is like set up perfectly in there, I kind of like to use that as well. I do have a water pump to go here. So this came from Charlie Eden. And we got a water pump spacer, and then this piece goes on, and that fits there. And then our turbo has to go somewhere in all this mess as well. So maybe I should put this front clip on and see like what room we have for a turbo up here. And even if we can use these headers. I just did a 2.5 hour live stream with you guys. Now my voice is all raspy, so that's why I wasn't doing bad things. But I went ahead and I put the water pump in here just to give me an idea for space and room that I have in here. I'm contemplating putting the radiator flat like this. I do want to be able to do the streetcar shootout drive. So this has to cool enough that I can do like a 30-kilometer drive. So I don't know if this angle is going to be okay or not, if I'm going to have to build some sort of wind duct up into it. And then beyond that, I have lots of room. If I put that there, I have lots of room for the turbo, like right up front here. Like I could probably cut a circle out of this hole if I want to, and put the turbo right underneath this bar, and build my Maven mount across the frame rails to hold it up. That'd be super badass. And then exhaust comes here, straight across, like down into the turbo, and then straight across, down into the turbo. And then exhaust probably down here, and then out through the side. You know what I just noticed is I think this turbo header sits back further this way than that one does. Yeah, if you look at it right here, you can tell totally. That kind of sucks. They must have had it mounted up good before, because it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mounting tabs, and 2 that were cut off before. Must have been awesome. Must have been tight. Not with sheet metal screws or anything like these ones everywhere that I'm finding in the car. Nope, not even one of those found in the whole entire car. Alright boys and girls, that's where I'm going to leave you with this video. As you can see, we kind of made some decent progress on getting the engine in there and everything. The next episode, I think I'm going to probably pull the engine out. We'll try and weld that block up. I also might try and weld I don't want to weld my fuel pump at all. We actually want to mount our fuel pump, and then I want to try and get a spot for the radiator figured out with the turbo. So we're kind of limited because we don't have the trans, so we can't build a trans mount, and we can't solid mount the engine up and build a turbo kit because we don't have the turbo as well. But those 2 things are coming, and those should be here shortly. So thank you guys for watching my channel. Make sure you're subscribed. Peace easy, and get that V.